In the Philadelphia Museum of Art is a collection of paintings and objects by a man whose unique view of life has greatly influenced modern art.
So here you are, Marcel, looking at your big glass.
Yes. And the more I look at it, the more I like it. I like the breaks, the way they come, the cracks. You remember how it happened in 1926?
Yes, I remember hearing.
In Brooklyn, they put the two paints on top of one another on a truck, flat, not knowing what they were carrying, and bouncing for 60 miles in Connecticut. So that's what happened. But the more I look at it, the more I like the cracks because they're not like shattered glass. They have a shape. There's a symmetry in the cracking. The two crackings are symmetrically disposed, and there's more, almost an intention there, an extra curious intention that I'm not responsible for, ready-made intention, in other words, that I respect and love.
But it was one of your biggest undertakings, most ambitious.
By far it is, and I worked 8 years on it, and it is not finished.
No.
And I don't know whether it will ever be finished. But now I'll show you some finished things. Come along.
There's the chocolate grinder.
Yes, one of the two I made, and the third one is on the glass itself.
You had several versions of the Nude Descending a Staircase, too, didn't you?
Yes, three, but this one is the first one that was shown at the Armory show.
The one the newspaper man called an explosion in a shingle factory.
Yes. That was a great line he put out.
Succès de scandale, now.
Succès de scandale, yes. And this is a boxing match, a drawing that I never use, in fact. It's for the glass. I never used it. I felt it was not quite what I wanted.
It must be a great satisfaction to you to have so many versions and so much of your work in one collection, such as you find here in the Philadelphia Museum.
Oh, wonderful it is. You know, it's just, I always felt that showing one painting in one place and another place is just like amputating one finger each time, or a leg. Here I feel at home, my house, and I've never had such really a feeling of complete satisfaction.
Well, I can understand how an artist would feel about that. Well, Marcel, these don't seem your earliest work.
No. The earliest is this one in the corner, the church. That was done in my village in 1902.
How old were you?
I was 15 then. And then I went on about some more of that period, but they're not here.
It's rather impressionist, isn't it? Is that what was the vogue?
Yeah, well, it was not the vogue, it was the only thing we talked about, you see. I mean, it was
advanced,
yeah,
even
it was
then.
Advanced, and yet, when you see these two, which are later, already Impressionism has gone down in vogue. So
they're more structural.
They're more structural, and Cézanne has been recognized then, and Cézanne is the great man, and I was influenced by Cézanne in those two paintings, you see. This is my two brothers playing chess in the garden, and this is my father.
Well, the whole family were painters, your sister and brother?
No, one sister paints, yes, but especially my brother, Bidon, paints.
But did they bring you into this Cézanne impressionist?
No, it was all on my own. No.
Just in the air?
In the air, especially, yes. Yeah. And my father was very nice about it. In fact, it was very difficult then as it is now to become a painter on your own. How can you expect to live, etc., etc. So he was a good man.
He looks patient to have set that portrait up.
Yeah.
There seems to be quite a step between this and the Nude Descending a Staircase.
Yes, the Nude was 2 years later.
1912.
1912. And it was after these that I decided that no more obvious influences as I had before. I wanted to at least be living in my day, and my day was Cubism. See, 1910, 11, 12, Cubism was in its childhood, and the approach was so different from the previous movements that I was very much attracted toward it. And I began being a Cubist painter, and finally I came to the Nude.
The Nude, however, has something of movement in it that the Cubists didn't seem to be interested in.
You see, there was also Futurism at that time.
The Italians.
Italian Futurism. But I didn't know about it.
You weren't in Munich. You were
in Italy, no. I never knew any. You see, the famous Futurist show in Paris was in January 1912, when I was painting this. So I hadn't seen it. There's a coincidence there. Of course, you might say it was in the air. But I didn't actually know the Futurists, but I did this painting with the idea of using movement as one of the elements in it. And next year, the following year, I sent it at the invitation of American painters, Davis and Walter Park.
It was an event in American painting history,
I know, but it's only now, even now that we know it, 40 years later. At the moment, it might have been an explosion of a success for a week or 10 days and finished in a feu de paille.
Yes.
But it went on. Then that was not enough for me. I went on with the idea that, all right, I had done what I could with Cubism, in my opinion, and immediately wanted to change. This idea of changing, not repeating myself. I could have done 10 nudes probably at that time if I wanted to. I decided not to go that. That will come into another discussion probably about why I did that. But I went immediately into another formula, which is the formula of the chocolate grinder. I was in Rouen, in one of the shops, showing through the glass an actual chocolate grinder. That a manufacturer of chocolate showed his chocolate grinder in the window. And it amused me so much that I took it as a point of departure.
But what was different in your point of view here than in any normal still life of a chocolate grinder? Was it a mechanical interest?
Yes, of course, the mechanical side of it influenced me then, or at least that was also the point of departure of a new form of technique. I couldn't go into the haphazard drawing or the folds or the painting, the splashing of the paint. I wanted to go back to a completely dry drawing, dry conception of art. And the mechanical drawing, for me, was the best form of that dry form of art.
Accuracy, precision.
Accuracy, precision, nothing of that handiwork. Chance. Well, chance is another question, but I mean, in that actual drawing, the precision that could not be even liked by all the people who liked Impressionism and all this. It was a new decision on my part to get away from even Cubism then, after a year of that. So this was the real beginning for the large glass.
At the time you did this, was there no notion of what was coming?
No, but I was already beginning to make a definite plan, complete plan for the whole glass. And the chocolate grinder was one point, and then came the sliding machine on the side. All this was supposed and was drawn in 13 and 14 on paper, planned out, because it was based on a perspective view, meaning complete control of the placement of things. It couldn't be haphazardly or changed afterwards. It had to go through as according to plan, so to speak.
Well, I imagine you feel that the chocolate grinder heralded something in your work, something of that break you've often told me about.
Yes, it was really a very important moment in my life. I had to make great decisions then. And I made a great one by saying to myself, no more painting, you'll get a job. And I looked for a job in order to get enough time to paint for myself. And I got a job as a librarian in Paris in the Bibliothèque Sainte-Geneviève. And this was a wonderful job because you had so many hours free in the day.
You mean painting for yourself, not merely to please other people?
Exactly. And that, of course, led me to this conclusion that you either are a professional painter or not. There are two kinds of artists. The artist that deals with society, is integrated in society, and the other artist, the completely freelance artist who has nothing to do with it, no bonds at all.
I mean, the man in society has to make certain compromises to please them and to live. Is that why you took the job?
Exactly. Exactly. I didn't want to depend on my painting for a living.
Well, didn't you have a certain income from your father?
Enough to live, if you want. Yes, enough to. My father was very nice about that. He always helped us long.
All three of you?
Yes. Long after we were of age, and he had a very funny idea. He said, all right, I'll give you what you want, but don't forget we have 3 sisters and 3 brothers. So whatever you get during my lifetime, you'll never get after my death as an inheritance. So all these sums that he had added carefully were subtracted from what we got after his death. You see, it was a very amusing French idea. Mm-hmm.
Well, at least it helped you over the bumps in the beginning.
Sure.
Well, Marcel, when you speak of your disregard for the broad public and say you're painting for yourself, wouldn't you accept that as painting for the ideal public, for a public which should appreciate you if they would only make the effort to?
Yes, indeed. It's only a way of putting myself in the right position for that ideal public, because the danger is to please an immediate public, the immediate public that comes around you and takes you in and accepts you and gives you success and everything. Instead of that, if you wait for your public that should come 50 years, 100 years after your death, that's the right public I want.
It's a rather ascetic attitude. I can see that I don't think you ever felt that a person was justified in taking an ivory-tower attitude, disregarding the intelligent and sympathetic public.
No ivory-tower in my idea at all.
I remember a line in a piece by Henri-Pierre Rocher in which he referred to you as saying that you were always careful to find a way to contradict yourself. I imagine by this you mean you were trying to avoid repeating yourself. Is this right?
You see, the danger is to lead yourself into a form of taste, even in the chocolate grinder. That
taste then is something that repeats something else that has been accepted. Is that what you mean?
It's a habit. It's a repetition of the same thing long enough to become taste. If you cut it shortly, after you've done it, then it stays as a thing by itself. But if it's repeated a number of times, it becomes a taste.
And good taste is what's approved, and bad taste is the same repetition which is not approved. Is that what you mean?
Yes, good or bad is of no importance, because it's always good for one and bad for the other. The quality is not important, but it's taste anyway.
Well, how did you find a way to get away from good or bad taste in your personal expression?
I knew in that technique of the mechanical technique that there was no taste possible. Really, a mechanical drawing has no taste in it.
Because it was divorced from the conventional expression in the painting.
Exactly. At least I thought so at that time, and I do think today the same way.
Then does this divorce from human intervention in drawing and painting have its relation with the interest you had in ready-mades?
Naturally, as a sort of conclusion or consequence of dehumanization of the work of art, in such a point that I came to the idea of the ready-mades. I call them ready-mades. It's a name for them. And let me show you. This is a ready-made bird cage with, if you see me having a hard time, because this is not sugar, this is marble, and it weighs a ton. And that was one of the elements that interested me when I made it, you see. It's ready-made, and the sugar is changed into marble. It's a sort of mythological effect. This is a ready-made of dating back from 1916. It's a ball of twine between two plaques of copper, brass. And before I finished it, Arensberg put something between inside the ball of twine, and never told me what it was, and I didn't want to know. It was a sort of secret, and it makes a noise, so we call this a ready-made with a secret noise, and listen to it. I never know, I don't know, I will never know whether it's a diamond or a coin.
You didn't meet Arensberg till you came to the United States, did you?
No. I came in 1915, and that was my first meeting with him. Walter Bach took me to his house, coming out of the boat. I came on the boat. And it was a very long life friendship with him.
Was Arensberg himself a painter?
No. He was a poet. He was a poet connected with the school of the Imagists in England.
H.D. and Richard Arlington? And
yes, all these. And they had the magazine here with Alfred Krainborg, Wallace Stevens, called Others. And they published that magazine of poetry.
Didn't he publish some magazines himself that connected with your group?
Yes,
or your friend?
Two amusing magazines only had one issue, unfortunately. One was called Wrong, Wrong, and the other one was called The Blind Man. It was really...
They were Dadaists.
Yes, they were inspired by the Dada.
Or was it more of a literary movement, perhaps?
Yes, it was more literary, that's it. It was no more to do with plastic art as such, and no more considerations of technique or, as all the schools before had. In fact, it was a negation, a refusal to accept anything like that, to deny any preoccupation of theoretical interest, you see. So, the Dada movement in Paris became completely literary, and in fact became the Surrealism in 1923. When they got, of course, as usual, a group of people don't get together very long. 2 years or 3 years of it was enough, and they began fighting together. They hated each other. So they dispersed and became another group from itself on the ashes of Dada to become the Surrealism.
But your group in America, the Arensberg group, was associated with several other groups, wasn't it?
There was, for example, Catherine Dreyer, who was also a patron of art, and she started a museum called Société Anonyme. And the Société Anonyme was a museum to bring from abroad paintings to get a sort of communion of art from the two sides and of modern art. And it was quite successful.
Well, these several groups, I imagine, laid a certain foundation for an understanding of contemporary European art in this country, much before other activities.
Yes, it was from then on that America was absolutely modern art conscious, which never had happened before.
I see. Well, Catherine Dreyer also owned your large glass, which we were looking at a little while ago.
Yes, she, at the time when the Arensbergs, who had the glass for a while, first had the glass when it was almost finished, but never was finished. In 1921, when they left New York for California, they didn't want to take the glass along because it was too fragile and they couldn't expect to transport it very easily. And so she, Catherine Dreyer, bought it from them, and she had it all the rest of her life.
Marcel, from what you say, the glass was never really finished.
No, the last time I worked on it was in 23.
Still, it remains a sort of unfinished epic, as I say.
Yes.
And also, for me, it seems to indicate that you were never really dedicated to conventional painting in the ordinary sense of the word. You were happy enough to do this, you were happy enough to leave it, you were happy enough to choose bottle racks as ready-mades and fill bird cages with marble to deceive those who thought it was sugar. I imagine that there's something broader in your concept of what art is than just painting. Is that what you feel yourself? I don't like to put words in your mouth but I have often thought about it.
Yes, it was really, I considered painting as a means of expression, not a name.
One means of expression.
One means of expression instead of a name, a complete aim for life at all. The same as I consider that color is only a means of expression. In painting, it shouldn't be the last aim of painting. In other words, painting shouldn't be not only retinal or visual. It should have to do with the gray matter of our understanding instead of purely visual. You see? So it's the same thing with my life in general. I didn't want to pin myself down to one little circle, and I tried at least to be as general as I could, and that's, for example, that's what I did when I took up chess. Chess in itself is a hobby, is a game. Everybody can play chess, but I took it very seriously and enjoyed it because I found some common points between chess and painting. Actually, when you play a game of chess, it's like design something or constructing a mechanism of some kind by which you win or lose. The competitive side of it has no importance, but the thing itself is very, very plastic. And that's probably what attracted me in the game.
Do you mean by that an enjoyment, a sort of fuller living? That is to say, another form of an expression?
Yes, at least it was another facet of the same kind of mental expression, intellectual expression. One small facet, if you will, but it was just enough different to make it another facet, and then add to the body of my life.
Marcel, you spent quite a bit of time in the late 1930s and the early 1940s on your valise. Do you regard that as a distinct personal expression also?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a new form of expression for me. It was, instead of painting something, it was to use the reproduction of those paintings that I loved so much into a small reduced form, in a small shape. And how to do it, I didn't know. I thought of book, which I didn't like, so I thought of the idea of a box in which they would be mounted like in a small museum, portable museum, so to speak, and there it is, in this valise.
A sort of ready-made help, as you call it?
Help, yes. See, it opens this way. Out it goes, and then we have the rest of it in this.
Practically all your work is in here.
Practically all of it. I think very few things are missing. You see, this auto-relief.
What is it? Is it a disc that...
Yes, it's a series. It's 12 drawings, different drawings, based on this spiral.
To be used on a gramophone.
To be used on
Victrola.
the Victrola. And the effect is that when you turn them at a certain speed, like 33.5 rounds, turns a minute, you get the effect of
a growing form.
Growing form, like a comb or corkscrew, and the spiral effect, spiralic effect. But they are different drawings. This one, for example, is a glass. It doesn't look like a glass here, but when it turns, this comes up like in third dimension. We have this one here. That's the Dada period, you see. The Mona Lisa with a mustache and a goatee. That was, of course, a great iconoclastic gesture on my part, and
sacrilegious.
Sacrilegious, blasphemous, all you want. But outside of this blasphemous gesture, I have other gestures of the same kind in the Dada period, like this check. I paid my dentist with this check, which was an original check drawn by myself on no bank at all. And he accepted it. He was very good sport, and he accepted it. So what happened, the funniest part of it, is that 10 or 15 years later, I saw him again. I brought the check back for my own collection, and there it is. This is also another one on a system, Monte Carlo system, to win in Monte Carlo, to break the bank in Monte Carlo. Of course, I never broke any bank with it. I thought I had a system, and I made some shares that I sold to different people to make a capital of it and break the bank in Monte Carlo.
Did you undertake it? Did you try to?
Oh, I did. I sold a few shares, of course.
But did you win anything?
No, never won anything. Never won anything. Now, this is the boxing match. As you see, the drawing is completely geometrical or mechanical, because that was the epoch period when I changed completely from splashing the paint on the canvas to a absolutely precise, coordinated drawing, and with no relation to arty handiwork.
This was one of the motives of the glass that wasn't incorporated.
That's it. Yes, it was supposed to be, and it never was incorporated. It should have been somewhere here, but never was finished. And as you know, I like the intellectual side, although I don't like the word intellect. For me, intellect is too dry a word, too inexpressive. I like the word believe. Believing is more. I think that people in general, when they say, I know, they don't know, they believe. I believe that art is the only form of activity in which man, as man, shows himself to be a true individual and is capable of going beyond the animal state, because art is an outlet towards regions which are not ruled by time and space. To live is to believe. That's my belief.